All right, guys. Thank you for joining us again today. And as I said before, G is unfortunate; he won't be able to join us today. But I wanted to continue this going ahead. One one thing for me, one, it keeps me accountable. I get a lot of benefit from sharing, I guess, the part of the prep and the journey with you guys, and hearing your feedback and hearing your questions always leaves me, I guess, leaves myself asking more questions and how I can improve. So I wanted to keep it going, but I think it will be really cool to open up the floor and get you guys' opinions on feedback as well. So don't be shy if you have any questions at all throughout, just let me know. I am going to firstly share screen and give you a brief rundown of the week that was. So everyone can see that. Can someone let me know if they can't?
Yeah, all good.
Perfect. All right. So this week was a deload week, which was great because if anyone was in the last round of video call or coaching calls, we deloaded every 2 weeks. For the first block, getting back into it, we actually went 3 weeks and then we deloaded, which was a bit of a hit for myself. But it was timed perfectly as there was a comp up here last weekend, which left me fucking fried. So 80% of everything last week, everything moved how it should, or at least I believe it looked how it should. I didn't want to train this week at all. I was fucking really beat up. My left shoulder that I've been having issues with flared up like a bitch after comp day just from wrapping. Being a small comp, we had a few lifters back, or I had a few lifters back to back that I had to wrap, and it just left that shoulder completely cooked. But I am gonna just quickly make two things apparent. Obviously, day 3, after seeing my chiro up here, we decided that um, take 2 days extra rest. So I'm not training today, I'm not training tomorrow, and I'm going to combine day 3 and day 4. So that's what I did yesterday. I deadlifted and did my mid grip bench. I picked the mid grip bench because I found that if I don't get a second bench day in or a second press day in the week, going into next Monday's bench is going to feel a lot heavier than it should. That I don't know if that's more of a mental thing, but I know for me that it works every single time as long as I can get it. And it doesn't just have to be mid grip bench; it could be the barbell seated press, and I know that carries over really, really well. Just the patterning thing for me and the skill of it, I believe. So my sleep this week, I haven't updated here because I wanted to get underway with the call, but the average sleep score this week was 81. I was pretty happy with that, but averaging only six hours a night. Coming off the back of the combat, I did experience a fuck ton of like heat exhaustion. I was sweating my fucking asshole out and it was disgusting in here. That really affected my sleep. Food's been very, very average this week because again, I was being a lazy piece of shit. But I know where I need to clean up for next week if I want to perform. So what I'm going to do does anyone have any questions before I move on to the actual videos? I'm going to take that as a no. So this is where I'm going to open up a bit to you guys, especially the coaches in the group, for feedback. Oh, fuck. Sorry, I didn't actually send through the deadlist from last week. Which moved horribly, I might add. That's 170. That's 190. Here we go. Cancel. Sorry, guys. All right, let's have a look at the bench this week. Can everyone see the bench?
Yep.
Sweet. So easy weight. We also decided that I wasn't going to go feet up bench just to save the hips after the weekend and not crank them too much. Self-unracked, I might add. Pretty baller. What did you guys notice? Anyone want to have a jump in?
Did you? Oh yeah. Just a quick question. Does unracking yourself affect your shoulder?
fucking oath it does. Was
So
that
then why
Zoran
wouldn't
speaking?
you? Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I just couldn't tell because there's no video. Yes, it definitely does. Sorry,
Yeah.
continue.
So then why would you self unrack then if you know?
Had no one else in the gym.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, just purely because
Yeah.
I fucking that was the only time of the day I could train before clients.
Yeah.
It was a Tuesday afternoon instead of a Monday, so
Yeah.
I just made the best that I could, which is why, like,
Yeah.
you'll see
Yeah.
there, like, I obviously try and press the weight into the rack and then just kind of leverage it out with my hips coming down.
Yeah.
It didn't feel too bad. It's definitely not ideal. Like, if Lily was on this
Yeah.
call, she would have told you. But I I usually get an unrack from like 80 kilos just to save it, which is really
Yeah.
embarrassing. But it
No,
saves the
it's
shoulder
not.
so much. So yep, I'm pretty happy with it overall. Like, I know, being the position obviously not on the toes, my chest isn't as high as it usually is, and the extra range of motion didn't affect the shoulder too much, which to me indicates I'm getting a lot more efficient with the upper back tension, really able to hold that scap position a lot more. And what I'm mostly happy with as well is the added bonus of actually using my fucking fat ass. So I'm getting a lot more leg
Yeah.
drive, which is really supporting my rib cage more. And you can
So
see
have you moved to that permanently?
Sorry.
Have you moved to that flat foot now permanently for yourself?
No, I'll go back to feet up, but just for the week, for the deload week, because it is a lighter weight and I don't need the extra effort from the hips, I try and save my hips, just nursing a old labral tear in my left hip as well.
Yep.
Just the left side of my body's all fucked up. So overall, very happy with the bench. The extra set, definitely. So for those who were on last week, we've added an extra set with the idea to keep my volume up really high throughout these, I guess, the earlier stages of the prep and leading into a quicker, smaller peak, which works best. So we've added an extra bench set, which I don't know if I was really prepared for, to be honest. It felt like maybe it was the accumulation of fatigue from 3 heavy training weeks and then comp week, but it just compounded. But yeah, anybody else have any questions about that? Cool. I will share the next one, which is squats. And y'all can see my squats, hey? So we'll cut that volume. So 160, super. Yeah, that's just me talking shit. Don't mind that. As you can tell by the wrap job, it's a very quick self wrap. Light wrap, obviously. We kept the wraps in just so by next week I'm not a little bitch again in them. All right, what do you guys think? I'll play it again. I like how my spotter by rep 4 is like, oh, I better look like I'm doing something. What do you guys think? Personally, I don't think there's much at fault here. Like, I'm very, very happy with the whole setup. The upper back positioning is getting a lot better. So my unrack, if we look there, I'm not coming forward into the rack as I used to, keeping that weight back on the heels and driving straight up rather than leaning forward and then into the rack. I think a big thing, if I don't know how to zoom in, I can't zoom in, but the new grip I've adopted in the last rep has carried over greatly now that the weights are at a higher percentage for the same reps, obviously with wraps. But I've dropped the pinky off, so like that, I don't know what you call it, like a T-Rex grip.
Raptor or Talon or something in that?
Yeah, whatever the fucking thing is. But pinky under the bar just allows me just allows my shoulder to sit back more and keep that shelf nice and sturdy.
I mean, it looks like it served its purpose as far as how a deload should be.
100%.
Everything looks right.
Mm.
Whereas it might break down up towards the higher end. You bring it back to there and drill in on that neurological side how you want to perform.
100%. And I guess we spoke about it in the last series of the calls where Gwaine was very much, drill. Not you shouldn't be focusing on just your skill set during deload week. Like every session should be that. But I tend to also think of it as just a refresher, like going back to basics and allowing that extra time just to refine those techniques and really find out what works for you. Because sometimes under a heavy bar, we know when we just go to execute, things don't always land. So here is where I really identify what markers or what flags I need to really execute on to produce that result. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the neurological side, when it gets heavy, also you start to, particularly with not top level lifters, start to think, I know I do, when it gets a bit heavy, you start to think about the weight more than the function, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I 100% understand that. And I think it's pretty common. And Zoran, I'd love to get your opinion here on how do you find it in weightlifting in the comparison? Because I look at weightlifting as a very technical sport.
It's scary. So my best snatch is 145.
Yeah, right.
And the first pull is hard. And you have to overcome the first pull. So it's scary and terrifying, which also then increases the adrenaline and the stress. So sometimes that you over pull or you overreach.
Yep.
And then that's when things can go wrong. Or if you're under that level, you won't even get up to the second pull.
Yep.
So yeah. So I think like my opinion is like my thought is you just like powerlifters and weightlifters have to be a little bit crazy.
That's the understatement of the year. Yeah. It's funny you say that. So it's like I've always, in going back to what Kane said before about at the top end, we can lose sight of what we need to focus on. And I think it gets overcomplicated, especially for novice lifters.
Yeah.
I think for novice lifters that they're just so fucking overloaded with cues, and this is a bit of a generalization. I'm not saying everyone, but I think too many coaches can overcue rather than just focusing on 2 or 3 things and giving them to execute it on. Let them master that and then go away. And at the top end, even if you're an elite lifter at the top end, 300 to 350 kilos on your back is still going to be intimidating. So having the time or like these deload weeks to really sit back, refine, and think about what those little things are you need to execute on, I think is very important. And what you do result in is, as Kane said before, like these are moving exactly how they should. I mean, I even got compliments from Gwaine this week. That never happens. One last place. The only thing I do want to be a bit more mindful of is not bottoming out. And by that, I mean referring to just not losing my core in the hole and losing that hip position.
Yeah, I have a client who did that. The girl coming into the novice, she squatted 95 for some triples. And on the second rep of the first set, she did that. And the pelvis tucked. Like she went so far that it tucked under. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to explain to her the ability to fight back from that position with the, like I said, bottoming out, I guess is a really good way to put it. It tucks completely under like a dog with a tailbone, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And that's one thing I think, I don't know, obviously your client, but for myself being quite tall, if that happens, I do just load that lumbar straight away. I don't think butt wink or whatever you want to fucking call it is inherently bad in some situations. But for me, I know it will just load my lumbar, and I have a history of SIJ issues.
So I did it one time,
Don't do
like
that.
before last lockdown, with safety bar squats. I was like had a target that I wanted to hit after 10 weeks, and I did.
Yeah.
And on the heavy one, I did the same thing. I just neurologically, I don't know whether I'd like talk myself out, not out of it, but just got so wound up.
Did you do these ones where it's just like you come down and then you're like, oh fuck, I've got it.
So I'd done that on the first couple, and I was like this, and I was like, I'm not doing that again. So I got so concerned with being upright that when I dipped into the hole, everything went underneath.
Yeah, right. So did it go over the back?
No. So I was fine. I fought out of it, but I hit the bottom on one that was like, it should have been easy. I only had 10 kilos from the one before that was easy, but it went, the same thing happened. My tailbone tucked under, my pelvis tilted back, and it ended up being this like absolute fucking grind, you know?
Yeah. Fuck. Safety bar is such an odd mechanism for those who don't know. But the safety bar that I've added in, or G's added in over the time he's been coaching me, has been actually very beneficial. So
I have the safety bar as, for some clients who come in and they just can't move, the safety bar is like the end goal. They're not going to have the shoulder mobility or the time to put into the T-spine and shoulder mobility to get into position required to straight bar squat, and there's not really any payoff for themselves, as we're just trying to get them to move better.
Yeah, 100%. There's no point if they're not, like, if they're not coming to me to powerlift, they're not going to really, and they don't need a back squat. Like, I don't think everyone needs the back squat in a low bar position, so 100%. They end up like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're Zoran, who's the most handsome motherfucker there is.
Nah, I need to get a haircut. Just a quick thing going back to the butt wink. You know, I kind of disagree with how you said that it's not necessarily bad.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if we're getting flexion through the like L4, L5, because that's where like majority of the disc bulge occur. I think repetitive butt wink over time does matter.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily.
I'd agree with that.
It's the 1,000th and the 10,000th sort of rep that is gonna like degenerate or delaminate the disc. Then the bulge will occur, or the the herniation will occur. Yep. So like it's not like, it might not be a bad thing now, but in 5 and 10 years time, when we still want to be lifting, that's when it would
How do you go about addressing it? Because you've got a different background, obviously being chiro, now osteo and remedial massage. How would you address butt wink, say in a one-off circumstance, and then let's talk about the consistent scenario. I'd love to hear your ideas.
So I think changing the loads is really good. So banded squats, perfect. Banded counterbalance squats, excellent. Like banded high bar, like exactly like you know how G puts us in the band, we wear bands.
Yeah,
they're great. It helps. Yeah, and also educating the client on, hey, this is not bad now, but it has a potential to cause injury later in life.
Do you think solely, like obviously band around, my understanding of that is strengthening glute, getting that expression of external rotation at the hip. Do you ever look at butt wink as a lack of pelvic engagement or lack of ab engagement from the front?
Both. So lack of like the person's perception of where their body is in space.
Yep.
So their proprioceptive skills. So to help increase that, you do the eccentric loading, your tempo squats, get them to find and understand the position. That is good and bad, depending. And then we can add load to that.
Yep.
So getting the client to again understand, hey, this is what you're doing, this is what we want you to do.
Yep.
So
100%.
and then
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions around that before we move on and watch my shit ass deadlifts?
Yeah, can't wait.
Nah, these were fucking bad. So I'm going to share with you firstly this is fatigue. Fuck you. I don't want to be deadlifting on a Saturday night after podcasting. Like, they just were hard. Look at that poor cunt struggle. He's just in the.
Good, though.
He looks good, but he's just in the wars right now. Look at him. Look at that expression. Oh.
Beard's glorious.
It was fucking hectic prior to my haircut. I think I've got one more after this. Oh no, that was it. What do you guys think? You're muted, Zoran. There you go.
Yeah, I was. No comment. No, but I remember I was talking on your previous coaching call. I think last year, on your last comp. Sorry.
Yep.
So I think now, correct me if I'm wrong. With your deadlift, were you meant to lock your knees out and then your hips?
Yes. So the one cue that it's been drilled into me from day one with G is locking the knees first to bring the hips through. So we'll start it again and have a look as Zoran chats. Or not chat, it's okay.
Oh, I don't know what I'm chatting about, to be honest.
Oh, I thought you had a point after that. You just said this whole good thing.
Oh no, but I'm just like that's that because is that are you still doing that?
Sorry.
Technique? Yeah,
we're on the same page now.
Yeah,
I get it.
Cool. So as you're coming up, the
Mhm.
hips and knees are locking out at the same time.
Yeah.
So then, is this a timing issue or patience with the bar? But also, we've got to also consider your fatigue levels at this time too.
All three.
I guess, yeah.
The annoying thing I think about this is this was after recording 3 or 4 podcast episodes. So sitting in a chair for up to 5 hours, not necessarily moving, and I came in and I could feel the tension in my upper back and thoracic. And you could do all the mobility and fucking weighted drills possible, but sometimes it just feels shit. The fatigue factor really caught up with me. Timing was off, and as the session wore on and the set wore on, I got more and more frustrated because I knew that was not happening the way I'd like it. In saying that, it's still probably better than what it was at this point in last prep. So I'm looking at that as the big takeaway. And also how well they did move and look overall for the amount of fatigue I was under. So I'm stoked with that. I'll stop sharing that monstrosity and share yesterday's deload deads, which obviously being a lot lighter looked better. Can you all see that? Sweet. You see much more efficient timing of the knees to hips, much better position up top. I also looked really jacked, I thought, but no one's commented on that yet. That's okay. I'll just cry myself to sleep again tonight.
Man, look at your shoulders and your back. Jesus.
That's all. Actually, you know what's funny? Right there.
Wow.
See that bulge? I don't know if you guys can see the mouse hovering over it. That's not actually muscle. That's just a tumor. So this is awkward. Oh. Yeah, it's just a benign tumor, but it wants to be a 10.
Okay. Well, at least your shoulders and your lats exploding out of that t-shirt. So
did no one get that? It's benign, but it wants to be a 10.
We did, but
okay. What about? It's so big, the tumor's starting to look like a 3-mer.
Yeah. So okay. back to the deadlifts.
You're all fucking kicked out of this call. G's gonna watch this. G's gonna watch this and go. I know it was. You know what? Whatever. I hate you all. Zoran, I hope G trolls you on your walk tomorrow. Wait, you can't walk. Ha.
I am absolutely crying here.
I know Ant sent a laughing emoji to the chat group, so I'm sure Zoran's muted himself because he's just lost it. This is great. Well. So, how about them Broncos? But we'll go back to the deadlifts. Obviously, deload treated me well. And one thing I did work, I don't know for those remembering back to the last comp prep calls, I worked with a sports psychologist, specifically around deadlifting, a little bit around like overall mindset, but specifically around executing on my deadlifts how they should be. Because having gone from pulling 280 at my best to now, not hitting that for close to 3 to 5 years started to really fuck with me. So one thing we set was going back to what I said before about the flags and markers, 3 things I need to execute on to perform the lift really, really well. And I think that in this session, I execute on all those things, which for me is just getting those lats as tight as I fucking can, bracing against that belt, and then just pulling the slack out. Like I don't necessarily worry about anything that's going on my hips. For me, it is honestly just dictating that hip height by how much retraction I get in the lats and scaps. Zoran, you're muted again.
Oh yeah, I was just like saying,
just stay unmuted.
Oh no, because I don't want my head to keep popping up.
Well, it's a good head.
Yeah, I know, but it's annoying for everybody else. So that's why.
Wow, that's. Whoa.
I know my head's good, but yeah.
I'm just gonna screen record this segment to G. Zoran thinks his head's good. Oh fuck! What a time to be alive, guys. Fuck.
Oh god. Oh,
That was awesome. All right, serious. Yes. Yeah. So what I was saying before was that I don't worry anything really was going on too much in my hips, as long as I know I can retract and brace as hard as I can. That I know my hips will take care of what they do and do what they do. They'll do hip things. So I'm stoked with that. Any questions on that, or any questions on how Zoran got his head so good? I'm still laughing about it. I'm going to stop sharing. Overall, I'm absolutely stoked with the week. I think the deload served its purpose. Like I feel pretty refreshed. I know my food could have been a lot better this week, and sleep could have been a lot better this week. But that's what next week's for, I guess. It's a learning curve.
Well, you do look really good in the face.
Surprisingly, but this is also I did pour myself a glass of whiskey last night and watched The Gentleman, which if you haven't seen The Gentleman, have you not seen it, Zoran?
No.
All right, you're not allowed back on this call until you watch it.
Oh dear.
No, it's like the most baller movie ever.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's literally like, oh, no, I'm not even going to ruin it. Watch it. Thank me later.
Okay. We'll see.
Do you like this is completely off topic of the coaching call, but do you like gangster movies?
Bro, my name's Zoran.
Yeah, that's true, of course. How do you even say your last name? Jankowski?
Yeah, just say Jankowski.
But how do you say it?
Jankowski.
Yeah, okay. That's way cooler.
Yeah.
Anywho, watch that movie. But yeah, no, I did definitely prioritize doing some things for me this week, which was really good. And I hope that I can actually get some fucking sleep tonight. Fingers crossed. Any questions before we wrap up, guys? Cool. I know roughly next week we are sticking with 5s. The plan for the deadlifts is not to go too heavy again. So we'll probably squat around like a 10 kilo jump up. Bench, I'm assuming around 122 and a half or 127, sorry. And then just a 5 kilo jump in my deadies, just to really try and focus on those markers and execute how I know I can. Cool. Guys, awesome. People in Melbourne, stay safe, stay inside. Please get rid of this COVID so I can come down and compete and hang out with Zoran's good head.
Thanks, man.
No worries, guys. You enjoy the rest of your weekend, team. Catch up soon. Bye.
See you, man.
See you guys.